Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. We're in Berlin, Germany. It's 1997. Bulldog, Owen. Almost a 17-minute match. So they gave these guys the main event spot, and they had almost like a pay-per-view type main event. So this should be a fun one. How did you put this on our list?
This was just exciting. Like the names alone draw you into this one. Like you got the Bulldog, you got Owen Hart, that 1997 when they were, early Hart Foundation, kind of the split and happening there. And so this was kind of a secondary storyline to everything that was going on with that. And so, this is just, how could you not? Like you look at Bulldog and Hart, like you kind of have to cover it almost. That's how good it is. Yep.
I'm pumped to cover this one, man. This is gonna be a good match, and there's a lot to talk about. We got European Championship, we got international stuff. I'm looking forward to this one. Let's get right into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, so like I said, we're in Germany. Do you want to take a crack at pronouncing the city, or not the city, the venue?
The little known fact about Jeffrey Ryan took 3 years of German in high school.
Oh.
So this is actually the Deutschland Hall. And so there you go.
Wow.
You're welcome. I know. Who would have thought? Skip the Spanish and went right to the German.
I took French and I was horrible at it. I mean, my teacher loved me, but she said I was butchering the language.
Look at us skipping the Spanish and being out there, the rebels. Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone took Spanish. Okay. We had you could choose between Latin, German, French, and Spanish.
Yeah, we had Spanish, French, and German. Yep.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. So the Deutschland Hall.
A big decision you had to make in 7th grade for us.
That it really was. Yeah, I'm shocked we did it. But yeah, it does not. This is probably the first time since high school that I've had to use it. So there you go. Yeah.
All right. March 3rd, 1997. We're in Berlin. We got a couple of dark matches. Sal Sincere is going to defeat Alex Porto in 8 minutes. Doug Furnace and Phil LaFon are going to defeat Aldo Montoya and Bob Holly in 8 minutes. And then the show starts. We start off with a 17-minute match between Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and he's going to defeat Bret Hart by DQ. That's a fun match. Your Intercontinental Champion Rocky Maivia is going to retain by DQ against Vader in 15 minutes. Man, what another fun match. I hate there being 2 DQs back-to-back. That doesn't really make any sense. The Sultan, otherwise known as Rikishi, is going to defeat Flash Funk in 11 minutes. Your WWF champion, Psycho Sid, is going to defeat Mankind in 10 minutes. It's a fun show, man. Somehow we ended up with another dark match of Ahmed Johnson defeating Leif Cassidy in 6 minutes. And then our main event, Bulldog Owen for the finals of the European Championship. So what a fun show, man. Well, I mean, you're stacked with Hall of Famers. You got our new Hall of Famer, Triple H. You got Bret Hart, The Rock, Paul Bearer, Vader, Rikishi, Sid, Foley, Bulldog, Owen. I mean, stacked with legends. So obviously a little unconventional these two would be wrestling, but how did we get to this match, and what was the build to get these two to wrestle?
Yeah, so like I said, we're going for the European Championship here, and this was the tournament to kind of crown that person. So we're in March 1997. We're going to go back to September. So September, where you had the Bulldog and Hart. They had a pay-per-view shot at the tag titles, which was In Your House. 10. Beat the Smoking Guns on that one, so left with the gold. Had that, and so they also had a new manager at that point, and so because he had Clarence Mason conned Jim Cornette into signing over their contracts, and so, but right out of the gate, you kind of get the signs of a breakup is already imminent, and so one of those would, of course, been the Royal Rumble when you had Hart accidentally eliminating the Bulldog. Then you had a lot of miscommunications during their match, losing matches to Crush and all kinds of other people as well too. So Hart not kind of sitting well with him, and so and then adding to this is this newly created European Championship, and so both men in the tournament for that, and so there was already some kind of a little bit of heat between both of them just as they're going through the story, but then we get this tournament as well too. So people in the tournament for this one, it was actually like why we got some of these matches that we did on this show was this show was actually like the tournament, and so they did it really from start to finish on this show, and so that's why the difference. So you had Bulldog, Mankind, Vader, Rocky, Owen Hart, Flash Funk, Bret Hart, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Second round, you had Bulldog taking on Vader. You had Bret versus Owen, and then finally, obviously, we get this as the kind of finals main event of not only the show but also this tournament to crown the inaugural champ. So yeah,
good, man. I'm pumped to cover this one.
Yeah, good.
So
I'm ready. Let's do it.
We are at the 1 hour and 13-minute mark of the 3/3/97 Raw. This is in the Raw Vault on Netflix, episode 9. Still learning how to navigate Netflix.
Yeah.
But we have it. Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's do this. Yeah.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
European champion in the history of the WWF. And folks, you have the opportunity to see it right here tonight.
They go showing the bracket now, kind of who's in it, like we said, Owen and Bulldog, this kind of finale.
Match, if I might have, with Owen Hart and the Hitman, nonetheless, in the record book of those show. Owen Hart victorious over Bret.
Okay, so this was March of 97. I think Vince was done commentating. His last pay-per-view was September of 97. I believe September or October. I think Bad Blood was the last pay-per-view he ever called, which is ironic because one of his best, or like most iconic calls ever, That's Gotta Be Kane, was the last pay-per-view he ever did commentary on. So, All right, we got Bulldog and Owen squaring off. Earl Hebner's your referee.
Kind of
Hebner would be a good Hall of Famer. Would you put him in the Hall of Fame?
You should. Yeah, absolutely. They always do somebody that's he'd be the first, I think maybe the first referee, and so I think that would make sense. Yeah.
New Dark Side of the Ring coming out. New season.
Yeah, let's talk about it for a sec here. We're getting into it. Actually, I know
which episode.
A lot of stories.
Yeah, which episode are you most looking forward to? I felt like I'm looking forward to all of them except for Hell in a Cell, just because we've told that story a zillion times.
Yeah, I'll be interested if they have something new. I just, at this point, like you said, I don't know how they can. I am interested. So looking at it, Vader has an episode. I think we've always heard stories about how crazy Vader is. And like, he's one of those few wrestlers that if you saw him on the street, he's like a Brock Lesnar type. Like he could kill you if he wanted to, like, no question, like you'd be dead. a lot of flips and stuff there. Good stuff though. So I'm excited about the Vader episode. I think that'll be good. I know the Muhammad Hassan episode, if I remember right, he was the post 9/11 terrorist angle. I think hearing his side of that should be really good because, who knows how that plays out, and having that. I know the Daphne episode,
and with Muhammad Hassan, he did, and I can't remember what podcast it was. It might have been Chris Van Fleet. He did a interview, and I mean, he's just a nice guy, and he's like, he did the character he was told to do, and he was trying to have a job. I mean, it was the obviously horrible timing with 9/11, and obviously in hindsight, these stereotypical villains from different countries is probably just a cheap heat, lousy way to go about things. I mean, obviously we don't really have those anymore, but the foreign villain thing is kind of played out. So yeah, but I mean, just seemed like horrible luck. Wow. You see that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Man, these two are just flying all over each other. I mean,
Hart there on the outside. Another look here at some of the action. This Milky Way double feature. Nothing but power.
Yeah, powerbomb by Bulldog just reverses the Frankensteiner, and then boom, just catapults Owen out of the ring. I mean, these guys are just flying all over. So they're doing like this, they have mutual respect for each other, but they're also trying to outsmart each other. I mean, you can tell. I mean, this is just one of those where, hey, we're going to tear down the house tonight type things, which is great. Yep. So you can tell they wanted to have a really good match.
Bulldog letting him back in the ring. Yeah, I think the Daphne episode, I'm kind of somewhat familiar. I know she committed suicide, but she was extremely well liked in wrestling circles. I did real quick as we're sitting here. I didn't know who Billy Jack Haynes is, and so kind of looked him up. It looks like he was. I'm just on his Wikipedia page, but from 86 to 88, he was out there a little bit. But then the kind of last he did, NWA for quite a bit, but the last little bit on his page, it says 2024 arrest and murder charge, and so I'm guessing that that could be a direction that we go with that one. And so it said he was arrested following a 2-hour standoff with police. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, but I just like Darkseid. I'm excited to kind of see what they do. Yeah, there's they're not all home runs, but neither are our episodes. But they're still fun and entertaining to kind of watch. So Bulldog working stiff, like Owen's flying all over, but Bulldog kind of pressing him and kind of doing some stuff here to kind of get some elevation on some of these moves. Bulldog looks real good too. Looks real young, like real fit. Yep.
Yeah, unfortunately it was
we know why, but yeah. So
well, and the problem is too, I mean, so it's like, look, I mean, they use steroids. I mean, they wanted to look good and they were in the business of, having their shirt off. I totally get that. And, their physical look was oftentimes tied to their income, right? So, the idea of the Bulldog getting big so that he could be in the main event, so that he could make more money for his family, what are you supposed to do? And I mean, I guess it's, they didn't have the nutrition and the safer ways of doing things. They were also traveling a ton too. So it's like, I will wholeheartedly, I mean, I wish they wouldn't have done the physical damage that they did to themselves with steroids. And obviously it was a contributing factor in some of these guys dying incredibly young. I mean, Davey Boy had a heart attack at 39. So was it because of steroids? I don't know. Probably didn't help. Could have been a contributing factor, could have been the main factor. But I mean, what are you supposed to do? You're traveling 5 days a week. I mean, you're trying to get to gyms. I mean, how are you going to, you have to eat healthy. You have to get big. You have to be on the road 5, 6, 7 days a week. You want to look great. There's only so much gym time you can get. You're exhausted. You're not driving around on private buses at this time. You're getting on normal flights and driving in rental cars. So I say all that to say that, yeah, you kind of had to get gassed up, and, some of them, probably overdid it. And what are you going to do? It was just an era too, where it was mostly bigger guys. Man, they're just flying around. I mean, Davey was just so good in the ring. Owen was incredible. I mean, there's a lot of guys where it's like, it'd be fun to see what their what they would have been like in different eras. But man, I feel like Owen Hart, the matches he could have had with guys, with the Kurt Angles, with the Chris Jerichos, with the Kevin Owens. I mean, it's just, it would have been fun. I mean, Owen Hart and Daniel Bryan having a match. Come on. So, and then, the other thing that's interesting too, and CM Punk said this a few months ago at one of the post-show conference. I think it was after maybe the first Netflix Raw, because he had his match with Seth, and he said something along the lines of, I finally figured this business out. I finally feel like I know what I'm doing from like a psychology standpoint, and it's ironic that my body's now giving out. So it's just, but it shows you that, I mean, and I think some of it's just maturity in life, right? Like, I feel like I'd be better at cutting a promo at 40 years old than I would have been at 25. Right. So it's that same thing where it's like, I look at a guy like Owen, or hell, even a guy like Bulldog, and it's like, if these guys were physically healthy, what they could have done at 40 and 45. I mean, even Cody Rhodes. I mean, look at Cody Rhodes at 25. His body wasn't fully developed. His character wasn't figured out. He wasn't, married with a kid. He didn't have the perspective of life. He hadn't gone through a bunch of failure at that point. So it's just tough. So sometimes it's probably no different for songwriters, where like your best promos, your best songwriting, the best things that you're able to do professionally sometimes aren't until later. So it would have been, again, a guy like Owen, it would have been fun to see it at 45. What could he have done if he was still wrestling? Because his character, his promos would have just been so damn good.
Yeah. Yeah, both these guys, like making the for Owen, like I get that the tension, because he died under Vince, like they can't sweep that under anything, and so I get that the tension there and kind of what happened doesn't mean they shouldn't try to honor him, even if they say no. Like, we'll never know the behind the scenes, but you can't not acknowledge his contribution. Like, he's got, they're working like he was incredible to watch. Like, we still to this day, because of what he did and some of the, I was scrolling, our Instagram page, and just kind of one of the suggestion when he, had the mask and the blue bomber and all that stuff. Like, so it's just wild to watch some of the stuff that he was doing. I was always a big Bulldog fan myself too. I remember his, I don't know why, but I specifically remember his action figure had like the arms that just kind of went up and down and had the open hands. And so like he was doing the press, which was always kind of I always liked that action figure, but yeah, it just too bad they're both gone. Yeah.
Well, and you just wonder. I mean, at the very least, it would be fun to have guys like this on Dark Side of the Ring and on the WWE documentaries, and just to be talking heads of getting their perspective. And a guy like Owen Hart, I mean, hell, he probably could have a great podcast. I just think of some of the guys like a Bobby Heenan. Like, I mean, God, could you imagine if he was healthy and was able to have a weekly podcast just talking about the wrestling business and telling stories? I mean, it might be better than anything that exists out there. So yeah, it's a shame. And obviously, of course, the personal side of things too. But I'm just, talking as a wrestling fan and how nice it would be to have them. It's, the rumor is in '96, Bulldog was supposed to win the world championship during his feud with Shawn Michaels. I really enjoyed that, heel Davey Boy, really good matches with Shawn. That would have been fun, but it's crazy to think about, like, and this is, I'm giving my appreciation to guys like John Cena and Roman Reigns, because, you think of like Shawn Michaels, and I'm the biggest Shawn Michaels mark out there. When was he on top? He was like on top for parts of 2 years. Okay. He wins the title at 12. So, go from he was in the main event at WrestleMania 11. So like that year, right? Like 95 into 96. He's your IC champion. He's kind of in the mix. WrestleMania 12, he wins the title. He's the top guy for that year, loses the title to Sid, gets it back, loses his smile out of 13, comes back, in September, I think, August or September of that year. And then he's back injury and out by WrestleMania 14. So like that entire Shawn Michaels run was parts of 2 years, but was injured for part of it, was a pain in the ass to work with the whole time. And then you get a guy like Roman Reigns that, he did it for years. Now I understand part-time schedule, wasn't doing all the house shows, different story, but it makes you realize like how special some of these guys are for their longevity.
Yep. Yeah. It's just wild. I do want to talk to a little bit because we got just a little bit of time here. More international shows. We're going to Paris. Obviously, this one was in Germany a long time ago. Like, I think we've talked about. Oh, that looked rough. Like, kind of.
Dude, these guys are. These guys are just having a match.
I thought for sure that we would see some explosion here tonight. Thus far, we've seen a great deal.
Jeff,
what do you think the split's going to be here?
I feel like this is one of the better matches we've watched in a while. It's just a really, really good match.
Owen using the heel tactic, kind of feet on. So are we going to end up 50-50 international here? What's the, of course, there's always the 2-night Rumble rumor. Like what's going to be the next big shift in some of these premium live events? Like I think international is happening. That's behind us. What's the future hold here?
So I think, yes, 50-50 sounds about right. I do wonder if your signature events are in North America, like at least for now, so Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam. I'm wondering if that's the plan. And then the bulk of the rest of that, your clashes, your Saudi shows, do go international. I don't know why you wouldn't. Look, the opportunity to grow this business is international. If you're saying, how do we make more money? It's international. It's touring internationally. It's international viewers. It's international merchandise. You want to grow it in the U.S., but man, there's such an opportunity. Wow, what a move.
Bulldog! No, I can't
get. Okay, the old classic Vince. So yeah, I think it's 50-50. So as a US based fan, what's the problem with international? The shows might start a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get rabid ass crowds. They're not going to phone it in. Like it's like, I don't know when this was. It was maybe like a year and a half ago. There were back-to-back pay-per-views in Indianapolis and Pittsburgh. And it was like a fast lane and a something else. Okay. And those were probably the worst 2 pay-per-views of the past few years. So it's like, if we can get away, I want there to be so much. So one of the things I love about WWE right now is there's so much pressure on them. Like you can't phone it in with Raw because Netflix is giving you billions of dollars. Okay. You can't phone it in on an international pay-per-view because you're doing a gate of like 2.5 million and these people have been dying for this. So you have to deliver. You can't have a bad stadium show because it's a stadium show. So it's like, you can't have a bad Saturday night's main event because NBC's paying a lot of money and they don't want you to screw it up. So like the higher the stakes, the better that they're going to have to deliver. So I like the international shows because the stakes are high. I know people, have issues with the Saudi shows. They've loaded them all up because they had to. They've loaded, Clash at the Castle up because they had to, because the tickets were really, really expensive and those fans would have booed them out of the building if they didn't deliver. So I love it, man. Give me those international shows. And then the crowds are just awesome and it's something different.
And also,
look at the Leon crowd, the Puerto Rico crowd. Dude, these shows are just insane and they're so fun to watch. And then you get some other, men and women that step up. So it's like Rhea Ripley looks like a hero. other people. I mean, Damian Priest, that elevated him. That loss to a rapper or musician, whatever, I don't know what Bad Bunny is, that elevated him. So we're elevating these people by getting them in these situations. I mean, Gunther, right?
Yeah, and I think it's nope. Do we got a win here? Nope, no win on the ropes. Okay. Yeah, I think absolutely. Okay, so it's the time it starts at 2-3 in the morning. Okay, fine. For how many years have we had it good? So okay, if there's one pay-per-view where all of a sudden, like if you watch New Japan and Wrestle Kingdom, their big show, whoa, kind of flipping all over here. They have been fans going crazy, it looks like. There's a running power slam. Yep.
Wow.
Ooh, kick out. Whoa, yeah.
Kicking out of that. Bulldog can't believe it.
Even Bulldog shot there.
From behind. Here we go. One, two. We got him. No. 1, 2. Holding the tight. He got him. It's finally over. Unbelievable. What a matchup.
Kind of rolling all over here. Kind of Owen Hart going for the roll up pin, and then Bulldog reversing it, and that's your W.
Competitors. What a match. What a tremendous match. Owen Hart very depressed, very distraught.
What a match. Dude,
First
that was
European champ. There you go.
so good. All right, we'll keep an eye on this, but we'll head off and give our reviews of the match. But let's keep it on just to see what happens. So, all right, let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
What'd you think?
Oh, that was great. There was really good wrestling. That was really good in-ring work. Like I would have expected nothing less. Like if we had gotten something less, I probably would have been upset. I think these guys went out there and like you said, they put on a show. They knew they were the main event. They knew they could work well together, and that's exactly what happened. Yep. How about you?
I was blown away by this match, man. It was awesome. And you got the tag champs shaking hands. So that was kind of an interesting story, a little bit different. Dude, I thought this was like a phenomenal match. Crowd was into it, shaking hands afterwards. I mean, it's funny that they're like both heels, right? But like,
right.
It was just, this was unique, man. I loved it.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Okay.
I'm curious
so
what the
kind of what
write-ups on this one were.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into, okay, so like I said, this all played out kind of weird because they had the tag belts as well too at the end of this month, and like I said, even though like I said, there's a little in ring kind of Owen's kind of trying to grab it too. So they have the tag belts. So but then still you had Hart demanding a shot at that European title. The match was booked on March 31st. And so it ended up it went on, and there was so much, it was just a really good match too. But then along with that, during that night, Brett appeared ringside during that one, stopped the match, kind of tried, talk about the importance of family, and ended up becoming the Hart Foundation that night. And so as we all know, and this is the anti-American stable at this point, who also had Jim Neidhart and Brian Pillman in it too. So kind of Owen bringing them back together, but we know eventually that didn't last, and kind of how that played out. And so this, leading to, but Owen, great with the tension. We kind of knew what was going to happen. So yeah. 1997, Bulldog 22 on the PWI, Owen Hart 16. A bunch of good write-ups on this one. The obvious hook of the match was that they are current tag champs together, and as Mr. McMahon kept stressing, they hadn't been getting along lately. Bulldog wrestled babyface style, countering everything Owen threw at him. The final minute saw some great near falls, a very good match. Owen and Bulldog shook hands after the match. Owen then left, so that was no rating from the torch on that one. But the Observer newsletter on this one, though, other side of it featured the single best match on either a Raw or Nitro since the beginning of the Wrestling War, a 23-minute long, 4.5-star classic where the Bulldog captured the new European title in a tournament final. The two tag partners went back to their roots during a 1980s Japanese-style match with near falls after near fall, and both men pulling out every trick in their arsenal, with Bulldog even allowing Hart to kick out of his power slam finisher before sitting back with a reverse pin. If this match was held on a pay-per-view show, it would finish high in balloting for match of the year, but the Raw show overall lacked something when it came to energy and atmosphere, and I don't think the show quite did justice to the quality of the match. So 4.5 is what your buddy Dave Meltzer gave this one. What are you thinking?
Hey, by the way, have you seen this ass clown get in trouble for making stuff up again recently?
Oh, I know. Yep.
Dude, it's just, I mean, I called him a pathological liar. I'm like, what else do you, I mean, you're saying things that aren't true, and you're either guessing or you're making things up. I mean, it's just, look, obviously other people have said it too, but it's like you're just trying to fill a newsletter. You're just trying to fill a website. You really don't know. You're going off of either lousy sources or embellishing things. And it doesn't discredit his rating system and his coverage of the business, but like the actual reporting of news. And, he got away with it forever because there was no social media. There were no checks and balances. But now you just can't make things up. And he makes things up. And it's tough for him to stop doing it after he's done it for decades. So anyways, dude, I'm completely aligned on like the 4.5. I would give this an 8.5. I thought the match was great. I thought the, tag team champions squaring off, but having a hell of a match. You can't do it all the time, but they pulled it off really well. I mean, two heels wrestling for 20 minutes that are tag champions that we know are going to hug after the match, and they still had it, man. I just thought it was phenomenal. And they're both great workers. I mean, it was just a great match, great story. I loved it. 8.5. What about you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to give it an 8. I thought the in-ring technical work was just incredible. Nothing to not enjoy. You kind of have to enjoy it. And so I just thought that it was really great, especially to see these two. Like, anytime you can get the opportunity to watch them, because what they do in the ring is just awesome. And so, hard to not kind of look away when they're doing their thing. And so, yeah, I'm going to give it a solid 8. Maybe, I'm right there with you. I could even give it a 9, but I think this one was just, especially, the added stipulation of the kind of belt and the new belt with this one too, just really good. Yep.
Great.
So send him home happy.
All right, man. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And I'm really looking forward to next week. We have Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, Saturday night's main event. So, dude, we're cruising right now, man. A lot of good stuff, and appreciate everyone listening. We'll see you next week on an all new episode of The Payoff.